Welcome, everyone. This is Monday, July 6th. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, come up to this microphone. Give us your name, your address, tell us what's on your mind. I'll ask for the roll call, please.
Cedar?
Here.
Kinsfater?
Here.
Kufa?
Here.
Laporte?
Here.
McCartney?
Here.
Watt?
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. If it's all right, Mr. Downey, I'm going to ask for a motion to add 2 items to the agenda. The item watering people's yards and also alcohol being in the parks. Mr. Kinsfater, you want to?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I'll support your motion.
If the motion's made, support any questions?
Where on the agenda will that be?
We'll put those under C and D, new business.
Okay.
The watering will be C, the alcohol in the park will be D. All right, motion made, support. Any other questions? Do I need a roll call?
No, Your Honor. Although I would ask or suggest that we could put the, you could put the resolution concerning alcohol in the park under item
5B.
5B.
Thank you.
So you don't have A, B, and C under new business?
Correct. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. We'll go to consent agenda 4A. City Council minutes of June 15th and 22nd, 2020, regular meeting, special and closed meetings, recommendation approved.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to 5A, consideration proposed resolution addressing moratorium on late utility bill fees. Mr. Rothi.
Yes, before you, council, is 2 resolutions. We'll go back to April when the city council adopted a resolution that did 2 things. One, suspended the shut-off of water utilities for late bill payments. That was done in accordance with the governor's executive order. The other thing it did was it established a moratorium on the 10% late penalty that accrues on unpaid water bills. As of this time, the governor's order to not shut water off for non-payment, if I said that correctly, is still in effect, so we cannot change that. But at this point, every single billing section in town, there's 3 of them, has had one bill where they have had that the benefit of not having late fees applied to that bill. So if everybody's had one go around, if we don't take action this week, that will continue until council says otherwise. So with that being said, we prepared 2 resolutions. One that would end the moratorium on the assessment of late penalties effective immediately. And the other one is effective October 1st, because if we allow the people who are going to get their July bill, if we're giving them a second free pass, if you will, we have to give the other 2 sections as well, which takes us to through September. So you're probably wondering what kind of dollars are we talking about here. So the total outstanding utility bills, which is water, sewer, and garbage, is $60,000 as of last week. So the revenue that city has foregone on that is 10% or $6,000, or about $2,000 a month. And again, that's shared between the sewer fund, the water fund, and the trash fund. The $60,000 itself will all be paid and received by the city, because in the city code there's provisions that automatically place those unpaid balances on the tax roll. So the $60,000 is, we're still going to be made whole on that part. So really at the end of the day, it's just, does council wish to continue the moratorium on the 10% late fee, or do they wish to not continue it? So that's what these proposed resolutions do.
So by not taking action, it expires?
No, technically, if you take no action on these resolutions,
They continue?
it continues to not accrue. Like, there's no penalty still if you take no action on these. If you take action, though, again, my thinking was I wanted to just have the conversation, because everybody had the chance. Everybody had it forgiven on one bill, so before we got into if council decided to stop it in August, they couldn't, because then you have to apply it to everybody equally. So again, technically, council could table out these resolutions and just have the moratorium continue until they see fit to do it.
Confusing as it being read or presented, so I guess if it helps people by not taking action and by extending or letting it continue, then I would be in favor of that, because there's still a lot of people out of work. It goes to one of our citizens' questions, the last meeting that we had, what are we doing to help other people? So if not taking action continues to let this abide, then I would rather that.
Yeah, if you remember when we passed it, like the last line said, until further notice.
All right.
So I agree with Mr. Member Kern. The further notice is not here yet, to my thinking.
I agree.
I also agree. I don't think I don't think things are going in the right direction
All right,
to make that decision.
so we're just gonna leave this alone.
And then in that case, I'll probably come back in October would be the next time we could take action on it, because again, it has to be applied to everybody fairly.
Yeah. All right, good, thank you.
So no motion has to be
Nothing.
made to let these go, just not vote on them at all.
Okay, let's go to the new B, which is, well, I'll let you take care of it.
Sure. So, members of council, we've been talking about what to do with alcohol in public places, particularly public parks, for the last few weeks. And in between our last workshop and today's meeting, the governor signed into law a few different pieces of legislation that kind of changed the discussion we've been having. So it's a little bit untraditional. Typically, agenda items are added on the agenda at the request of the mayor or a majority of city council. I kind of took it upon myself to bring this forward, knowing that we would have the meeting now and it would be 2 weeks before our next one. So the resolution you see before you, I'm anticipating is going to be amended if it's acted on this evening. But what essentially the law has done is it allows licensed establishments to sell alcohol in qualified containers for consumption off the premises. So that we weren't able to do that before. So now you can go to an establishment, purchase the alcohol in a qualified container as defined in state law, and you're able to leave that premises with it. So now suddenly, some of the discussion was we want to be able to go in with the alcohol into a public place, and can we have some sort of limits on, the size of that container? Can we require it to have the commercially printed name or logo of the establishment on it? Yes, that exists now, which we didn't before. So what this resolution that I put together does is, and again, this is just as it's currently written, it can be amended any way you'd like to your choosing, is it allows the consumption of alcohol in qualified containers. So again, it has to be in a qualified container that's purchased from an establishment, not I'm walking into the park with, a beer from my own fridge. And it would allow it would be a paper or plastic cup, not to exceed 16 fluid ounces, and it must have the commercially printed name or logo of the business on it. Again, it's as currently written, it's allowing that in Palmer Park, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. daily through October 31st, 2020. That's what I put together as a starting point. I understand there's probably going to be some deliberation on this. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Who
that you
defines
might
the
have.
cup? Is it the state or do we? Or?
Yeah, so the qualified container is a very broad definition at the state level. It's essentially anything up to a gallon in size. It must be sealed. There can't be a straw hole in it or anything. So, what we're doing here is we're essentially nuancing and further defining what types of these qualified containers are actually allowed in the park. And again, that would be in this case paper or plastic cup, 16 ounces or less, and it must have that commercially printed logo or name on
When you
it.
say plastic, is it disposable plastic or hard plastic? Because my thought is they're going to get these reusable cups, go to the party store, get themselves
Right.
a
Yeah.
bottle and
And-
refill.
And to be fair, that's probably the biggest weakness that I've seen, and there's no good way around it.
Right.
You can't really enforce that. It's pretty much impossible to enforce that part of it. So it is something that could be abused. Absolutely.
You don't think that goes on now?
Yeah. Well, I know it goes on now, but now we're just allowing it.
Well, Mr. Kinswater suggested limiting the time, if we can start with one thing. The design of the cup, when you say there can't be any opening in it, no straw in it or anything, so it has to be, do I have to have a sealed top?
Yes, so the qualified container must be sealable, and it must leave the licensed premise when it's sealed.
So can it have a plastic top on it?
Yes, they can't have a straw hole in it.
Okay.
But if it's like, a solid plastic, sealed lid once you leave that establishment, you know, as long as you left the establishment in it with it all sealed and everything, the establishment, you know, is off the hook for any sort of liability issues that would come after that.
So
Could we do something like change the color of the cups? So like 1 week it's blue and the next week it's
Well,
red?
that becomes a huge expense for the
Yeah, it's going to be an expense, but otherwise people are going to buy one cup and they're going to fill it up.
They already do that. The fishermen do it all the time.
Well, this goes back to what we talked about a couple meetings ago about allowing some of this mingling in our social districts.
I'm not sure you can get a cup with a solid top on
Yeah, you can.
it, can you?
What if you had like a sticker maybe with the Voyager on it and put it over the straw hole?
And you date
Is
it.
that considered, would that be considered closed and then just put the straw through a sticker?
You know, I think it's new legislation.
There's probably different ways you can sit there and attack that. I'm just sitting there. I got a question for the attorney. What's the fine right now for Palmer Park if you're sitting in there and you're caught with a alcohol?
It's a misdemeanor violation. It's
So is-
90 days and/or $500.
Okay, so it's pretty stiff. So my thoughts are, I mean, just sitting there looking at this, and it's nice to see that we got a lot of the owners out there too, so maybe we can get some feedback on there. I'm not sure if I'm real good with going till midnight. I think that's just a little bit too late for any of the parks. I know this is just for Palmer. I think I'd like to see Rotary Park included in this also, if possible. I mean, that's my thoughts on this.
I'd like to see Rotary in there as well.
Yeah.
It serves the boating industry as well
Yeah.
as the restaurants between.
And I did get a chance to talk to Sheila LaCroix from LaCroix's and Drifters, and she would be, if she was apprehensive, she said if Rotary Park was included, she would be, you know, all over that, so.
Can we add that?
I think we can do.
Can we add that through a motion?
Yes, you can, through a motion, you can move to adopt the resolution with any proposed changes.
I would move to adopt the
Hold
resolution.
on a second, Tom, if you don't mind. I made a couple notes, you might want to add some other things.
Okay.
As you guys were speaking, I was thinking, I don't like the noon to midnight either, maybe 3 to 10, Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't
Palmer
like
and
I didn't
Ro-
like the 7 days a week. And I didn't
Ro-
like the 7
Palmer and
days a
Rotary
week.
Park, and maybe we could put it in here, try for 30 days.
You want to go, are you saying you want to go 7 days a week?
No,
No.
Thursday through Sunday, 3 to
Yeah, I agree
10.
with that.
Try it for 30 days. If it works out good, and it looks like that we need
Yeah.
7 days, do it.
I don't think that you need to have the time limit on there, Councilmember Kinsvater, because I think at a meeting 30 days out, council can simply rescind it if they want.
Okay.
Or amend it as they choose.
So what do you mean? What was that? I'm sorry.
We don't have to do 30 days.
Oh, I see, okay.
'Cause in 30 days, we could just get rid of it anyway.
That's right.
If for some reason this thing like goes bad real quick, can the police chief just shut it down immediately, or do we have to have a council meeting?
I think we'd have to have an emergency meeting to rescind.
Can we
it.
put something in the resolution that the city manager, mayor, and police chief could shut it down if something really did go?
I think as a separation of powers issue, I don't think that you
Okay,
can-
I'm just asking.
I don't think you can
Yeah,
do that.
okay.
We're gonna know pretty quickly.
Yeah, we should.
What else did you want to add?
That was what I would throw it 3 to 10, Thursday through Sunday, Palmer and Rotary Park, try it for 30 days, but the 30-day thing, we don't need.
So I would I'm bringing up the motion to approve the resolution with those additions to it, only because I'd like to get feedback from the,
Sure.
under a real motion. So
Sure.
I'll make the
And I'm
motion
gonna
with those
support it.
changes.
Okay, so the motion is made to include Palmer and Rotary,
With
Thursday
with
through
the hours of the
Sunday,
Restricted hours Thursday through Sunday.
3 to
Yeah,
10.
Yeah.
and you're supporting.
I'm supporting that.
All right, so the motion is made, supported, and I'll ask for any questions or comments from anybody. Come up to the microphone, though, if you would, please.
Good evening. Chris Paul, Warwater Brewery, 201 North Riverside, St. Clair, Michigan. Some of the questions that I do have for clarification, for the breweries, bars, restaurants, taverns, with current law, we have restrictions on what type of containers and what sizes. So we use 32-ounce cans, and we fill them, seal them. They're 100% sealed, just like a 16-ounce can. Also, growlers are the same way. I think Menina's, growler's a 64-ounce bottle. It's filled, sealed, and it's got a shrink wrap top that gets shrink wrapped on the top, so you know that it has not been opened. Menina's does wine bottles in different sizes as well. Those are shrink wrapped as well. The 16-ounce cups, I'm not familiar with the product yet. and how that falls into the similar languages for the breweries, bars, taverns, and wineries yet. So I'm curious to what that would be, and there was some confusion back and forth with a 16-ounce cup. I don't know if it's prepared beverages or standard beverages, so I'm looking for some clarity on that.
You mean like a mixed drink versus a beer?
Yeah, because you've got standard products, whether it's a Bud Light or it's a manufactured product that's got manufacturer warnings on it, like we produce, we have to have certain things on there, versus mixed drinks. So I'm not as familiar with what Governor Whitmer just signed, so I'd have to go back and look at that. Then I'm not as familiar with what the containers need to look like, because if it's full open intox that you can, using other, like Key West or whatnot, whether you just poured the remainder of your beer into a clear cup and you walked out the door and you just continued on your way, or if it's just us talking about allowing alcoholic beverages on the boardwalk, but they have to be in certified containers and what those containers are. If we're going to mimic what the state does, my request from being a manufacturer is we're allowed a 64-ounce growler that's got a sealed top on it. We're allowed a 32-ounce crowler that is a canned product. And then, if we start manufacturing, we'll also have 16-ounce or 12-ounce that are pre-canned. So if we're going to follow state legislation, I think it would be important to follow those standard items in case bars, breweries, or anybody else is invested in those products, and it currently meets state law for selling to-go. I think it would be a mistake to exclude those because they're currently out there in the product and we're all using them.
You can sell to-go, you have a to-go license anyway, don't you?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
So
So I'm not sure that, and I would have to defer this to the attorney, but I think this is attacking the walkabout opportunity a little bit differently than having a prepackaged. You would certainly have, you and Manini's probably have an advantage over others because you manufacture a lot of your own stuff, where Murphy's or Riverside, they're gonna sell out of a tap or a can or a mixed drink out of, it's pre-made. I think that's where I think that's the intent of this. I could be wrong, because I haven't fully read the law that she signed today, but I think that was the intent of that, so I could be wrong, but.
Mr. Downey, can someone go to Warwater, purchase a 32-ounce can and sit at the boardwalk and drink it under this ordinance?
No, under the ordinances proposed, the limit would be 16 ounces.
Okay.
But as I think Mr. Rothy discussed in his presentation, the state law does allow 64 ounces. So this is.
So what if someone bought a growler with a 16-ounce cup? Could they pour from the growler into the 16-ounce cup to consume it?
Under the ordinances presented, no.
Okay. Is that something we can change to allow that to
We
happen?
can modify it.
Can we just put the motion per state statute?
If you were to do that, yes, and that would boost the limit from 16
To a
to
gallon.
64.
Up to, right.
I don't know if we want to go.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
That's
open
all
Pandora's
big.
box out
I'm
too.
thinking no with the gallon.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot.
Well, you said you need what, 64 ounces?
the state, the
32.
state says 1 gallon. I'm not aware, and maybe some others would know, but I'm not aware of any breweries or anybody that's producing 1 gallon. The industry standard is a 64 or a 32. Even in a growler or the howlers, which is a glass container that's 32 ounces, and then there are crowlers, which is what we use, which is a 32-ounce can. So industry standard right now is 64-ounce crowler, 32-ounce howler, or 32-ounce crowler.
Do you have the ability to make 16-ounce cans or 12-ounce?
Not currently, no. We would have to invest in new equipment in order to do so.
But you could order a 16-ounce plastic
Cup, if that
with a
product was
lid on
out
it,
there.
with your
With a
name
lid and then pour from your tappers.
and tag.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
right now, I don't, and I'd have to read, I don't know if
And
getting a
tech-
7-Eleven cup with the little on
No,
the
but I
top
don't,
qualifies.
I'm not envisioning a menu, a full menu board, that this is looking for that. I think it's, if I wanted to, here I'm advertising, if I wanted to come and buy a Mexicana in a 12-ounce plastic cup and leave, I think this is what the intent of this is.
I think that's exactly the
I
intent of
think
it.
it'd be the
Not-
same
not to
cup
get into-
that
yeah.
anybody else would have to
Right.
use, right?
Yeah,
It'd have to be universal size.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mr.
That's
Downey.
what I'm thinking, but
Yeah, I'm just not familiar with.
That's why we wanted
and
to bring the
others
motion
may,
to the table,
and
so
I'll start
we can
Googling
listen
when I
to
get
it.
out of here, but I'm just not familiar with 12-ounce, 16-ounce temporary cups that are federally approved or state approved yet. Maybe
Right.
that is changing quickly. I do know that 32-ounce cans are, I know 16-ounce cans are.
Right.
So I guess my minimal ask would be that a 32-ounce crawler would be approved, because it is a state-approved can that we're currently producing.
so up to that.
Yeah.
Do
Jim,
that.
can we create an ordinance that is more restrictive than the state statute?
Well, because this is new, I think that there's probably room for us to be creative. You know, whether or not that would be challenged and how long these restrictions would last is a open question.
If we approve a 32-ounce growler, is that gonna leave us open to approving the 32-ounce plastic?
Or if you
I mean,
have
can we make an ordinance that says, no mixed drinks or tap beer in a 16-ounce, bigger than 16-ounce cups, or a 32-ounce growler? Or do we have to, if we approve the 32-ounce growler, do we have to then accept up to 32 ounces in plastic or paper product?
Especially mixed
I
up.
would think that the uniformity is going to be important on that.
And
Especially
that's
for
why
the
I'm-
enforcement
and I
side.
believe that's what I'm a little worried about, as far as that's concerned.
I would assume there's a concern from class wear and everything else, so, you know, whether or not you're talking a 32 ounce or 64 ounce, you would exclude glass and saying it's not permitted. 32 ounce cans, you know,
So
wine
Chris,
bottles.
we've been talking about this for probably over a month now.
Mhm.
So, and I'm glad that you guys are all here because it gives us some feedback. What part of the discussion came out of this as we wanted to do something that was gonna help the establishments around town regain their footing, I guess, without getting into political nomenclature. Do you guys see this as, I mean, is this a welcome opportunity for you guys, for the public, or do you think for your businesses that would help, you know, maybe kickstart or get some more traffic or foot traffic? And that would, I think that only helps everybody in town. I mean, it helps the stores and the shops, and any more you create more foot traffic, so.
So speaking for Warwater, I do think this would be a benefit. It needs to be managed properly, and we need to learn a lot about it over the next 30, 60, 90 days, because this is, you know, a new time for all of us. This is a concept that I have openly spoke to Council and Chief Raker about now for almost 18 months of copying other communities that have done similar items to this, some of them outside of the state. We did it creatively, we'll call it that, when we did Winter Whiteout here. In having that ability to move about throughout the community. It was also part of some of the DDA, I think, in maybe a creative way for me to look at it as, there was always discussions on how do we move people from point A to point B within a community, and it's you have to have a draw or a reason to move or we won't migrate. And we've gotten a lot of studies back that we've paid for, and they've identified that. So trying to having the longest freshwater boardwalk in the, you know, the state or the country, how do we move people from one end to the other? A beverage would help do that. A beverage would help move people from one establishment to another. If we had a community here in St. Clair or others, and I was trying to pick for myself where I may go for dinner or spend some time with my family, I might say, hey, let's run up there. I know it's walkable. There's got to be something going on. We'll spend an hour to see what's happening and walk about. It would draw me in. It's got to be done the right way. You know, we don't want New Orleans, you know, Mardi Gras by any means. But we do, you know, St. Clair's unique and special. I think we need to continue to build on that, find ways to support our community, restaurants and establishments in this new time that we have. So we are fully in support of it. We know there are some things that we need to learn. And, you know, we don't want to add any more chaos or confusion to it. So that was one of my questions on standardized packaging. We have 32-ounce cans now. Someone can walk out our door, walk off our property, and they can open it. No difference than a 12-ounce, 16-ounce from a local liquor store. Then it's just for the local
Because you have a
municipality.
to-go license, so you
Yeah,
can
we have a
sell
to-go
it.
license, so-
Some probably don't, and that's
Yep.
kind of what we were trying to do.
Yep.
And I think the
all the
flavor
bars
of-
that have been mentioned, they have takeout licenses.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only question I ask is the size of it.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that's why the original language was written. I think that was the whole purpose of it. You could just take what was left and put a lid on it and leave. I mean, so not trying to throw water on what yours is a different you have a different animal
Sure.
in your place because
Yeah.
you have prepackaged with your name on it and all the warnings. And I think that,
Well, we're starting to see a lot of different packaging sizes too in the marketplace, and bars are starting to do different things. 16-ounce cans used to be kind of crazy back in the day, you know, then it was the craft industry. Now we're starting to see 10-ounce cans, 20-ounce cans, you know, so my only question was, we know that we're canning in the community and have investment up to 32 ounces. Is 32 ounces outside of the realm of what we're looking to do, or is it within the threshold for a pilot program? If it is, my ask would be 32 ounces and smaller, approved, steel, no glass, no, and see how it goes. Because currently I'm not canning 16 ounces. A year from now, I may be running full-on assembly lines doing that.
Right.
That'll be exciting, but we're not today.
Chris, that machine you have behind your bar, is that 32 ounce only, or can that be
32
adjusted?
ounce, only 32 ounce, yeah. And an investment like that, like it's probably about $7,500 to do
Right.
something up like that.
All right, we might call you back up here, because I'm gonna give these other guys a chance to
Yeah,
give us some other.
absolutely.
I just
Thank
have
you.
one more question for Mr. Downey, and maybe I'm repeating myself here. Can we approve an ordinance that allows up to 16 ounces in paper and plastic cups and up to 32 ounces in aluminum only?
I think you have the right to do whatever.
Because
you
I don't
like.
think we have another establishment that would can in the area, and if we're asking the rest of the businesses, or if we're doing this for the rest of the businesses that sell alcohol, I don't think it would be fair to Warwater to give them something they can't do if they have something already available.
So you pick up a 32 ounce at the party store and take it down to the party?
That doesn't say Warwater on it.
That's all right then, or?
No, it would have to have Warwater's name on it, just like our cups would have to say Murphy Inn or Voyager
That's what
or,
you gotta be careful
or Tap Bistro.
All right,
Just a
we've got some
thought.
other owners in here. Do you guys wanna give us any input? Mark?
Thanks. Mark Stevens, Anchor Point Bistro, 201 North Riverside Avenue. Just a couple things for us. I mean, we talked already a little bit to get a feel for what's the intent, what's the reason for this. And I think that we're moving in the right direction to make some changes based on everything that's happened with COVID. For us, just a couple things that kind of popped out to me. The first thing I'll just address is the 32 ounce, the crowler, the can. We have the sealing machines. We are able to do that now and seal things by state law that can go up to, what we're buying, up to 24. Our intention was the 16, but we have the ability to go higher. So if the ordinance is passed, I'd like it to be that it could be plastic container up to the same ounces. I think that's uniformity across the board personally. So we have the option of doing that. I guess the whole intent here is that where does S&A Liquor fall in this and the other businesses that are out there that are struggling to some degree also? And if we're allowing this, is it getting to the point where where we're doing this in Palmer Park, is it going to be the benefit of a customer to go out there and support the businesses and come all the way back to one side and then walk all the way across with a sealed container, because you can't have open container as you're walking through the plaza and the courtyard? So is there businesses that can benefit more and pull more customers that way where the other ones are falling even lower based on that? It's something to think about, and that's all I'm saying. For us, the second thing would be the plastic cups. If we're going to go with the potential of coloring them every week, what we've already purchased by state law are going to be clear containers so you can see the alcohol in it. It'll have the label, it'll have alcohol is contained, it'll have the name of the business on it, and then it's sealed completely on top with no straw or perforation that would be allowed to do it until you get it to the actual location you're going. I see this as a win and I see it as a fail. I see it as in people are going to take full advantage of it. I see coolers out there. I see people taking the cups and then filling it up with their own stuff. And I worry about that. And I think we've already decided that there's not going to be any extra patrol put out here for this. We're just going to give it a trial basis, which I'm perfectly fine with. I think that everybody's going to benefit to some degree. But where you come up with these different standards, they've got to be thought through. And I'm not saying the decision needs to be made tonight. And I think everybody kind of wants to, because we're already getting as we're pushing forward. But some thought needs to be put into a lot of questions going to happen. People beat the system all the time. You know, and when you got fishermen down there with the coolers, you're going to eliminate coolers. Those kind of things have to be thought through. Patrol going through, can I see your cooler, dumping it out, warning them, probably a good step to start. But where am I going to go if I'm down there and I'm allowed to drink and I've got a 16-ounce cup or 32-ounce crowler? and then I say, I'm gonna get another one. Now, a crowler, a lot more booze, you can probably last a little longer, but then when you get the 16-ounce cup, are they coming all the way back to the businesses, which is the idea to support the businesses, or are you going to the quickest, closest business that's right there and grabbing what you got? That's our concern a little bit. I think Bistro's doing fairly well, and we're going to continue, hopefully, to move up as we go through all this together. But this ordinance is going to allow, especially with the new plays that are coming downtown, that whole park is going to be flooded with people, and that's the good thing for the city. This drink thing is going to go hand in hand with it, and it's got to be patrolled, or we've got to at least have some standards that are really set in stone, posted, everything about it, because when my liquor leaves my property, they can do anything they want with it. We see it right now. We know in the park itself, they're drinking. We know as you go in the actual community center, they're drinking, and nobody's really pushing it. Thank God, because in all reality, people are responsible for their own actions. If they do something stupid, they should be held accountable. But now we're getting to the point we're getting ready to authorize it by the city and allow people to walk around over there, and they're going to bring their own stuff, and that's got to just be patrolled, and however you want to do it. But that's my concerns. I would not color a cup. And I would say if you're going to go with a standard, make it across the board for that ounces, because I can sell 32 too in plastic. So,
Thank you, Mark.
all right, thanks.
Jim, Annette, you want to weigh in on anything here?
I just have concern about the glass. Annette Aldrum, Medina's Lighthouse, 201 North Riverside. I just concern our bottles, of course, come in glass.
Your slushies come
Pardon?
plastic. Your slushies are good in plastic, though.
Yeah, my slushies, you're true, you're right. But is glass not allowed? Did we hear that right?
Right.
Okay. And what was your other concern, the 32 ounces?
No, our half bottles fit inside that anyways, so we're okay there.
So what happens if somebody comes and buys a bottle of wine and leaves? I mean,
Well, I mean, if they get caught in the park, I don't think it would come back at you. It's
Okay.
their responsibility. Am I correct, Mr. Downey?
okay.
That's correct, yeah.
I mean, the law is that they can't have glass in the park. You're not responsible for
Okay.
following them to the park to make sure they don't drink it.
Okay, that's fine then. I just was concerned about that in the glass, so. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bohm?
I'm really here just to give a quick update on some of the things that are happening with the event. I know you approved the festival for...
Hey, can I bring you back up in a minute, Jeff?
It's going to tie into liquor, though.
Oh, it is?
It's tying in this conversation.
All right, go ahead.
So we're out on the street right now raising money. We're raising money like crazy, okay? It's been very good. We're talking with the mall. We're working with them about doing some programming over there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday types of concerts, maybe a little bit more. There's going to be opportunities to do some Wednesday programming. Perhaps it could be comedians. Thursday music, Friday, Saturday, some of the festivals. Potential Sunday. The more money we bring in the door, the more we want to program things out, not just in the park, but around town. To restrict, you were talking about that Thursday, possibly, if they're doing things like comedians on Wednesday, for example, it would be nice, I think, for the establishments that people would be able to come eat there, they'd be able to grab a drink, they'd be able to leave, and they'd be able to walk over to the park. I just wanted to make you guys aware of what we were up to and some of the programming thing, because this is really going to be a 30-day experiment, you know, for the liquor, and I know it's going to tweak it and some of the other things. The intent of this event is to bring people to town. They're not selling booze, they're not doing any food, not doing vendors, to drive people to their establishments there's intermissions a lot of times with these things, and then post too. So having a little bit of a leeway, I don't know, the 16 to 32 or whatever, and at the end of the day, that you guys, to try to enforce, it's tough anyways, right? You put these, you know, intentions in, but to have people walking through checking everybody's cups, that's, you know, the reality of that is probably not a reality, right? But I just want to let you know that the event's going well. There's programming opportunities. that could happen outside the threshold of the Thursday to the Sunday, Wednesday perhaps, to maybe open it up a little bit more to give the businesses an opportunity to service the event at those days.
So the Wednesday through Saturday, Jeff, be a better?
Wednesday through,
Sunday.
yeah, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're even, this event's generated enough monies to pay for programming, for music pieces around town.
For Sundays?
Trying to just get stuff going on everywhere, make stuff happen. St. Clair is going to have a lot of activity coming up here really,
Mr. Bowman,
really
what time
close.
do these events start on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
I don't have a for sure
an
on the
idea.
exact deal. Kathy's handling the programming. I'm actually truthfully handling the fundraising for the event, putting the money together. I'm sure they're like a 7 to 9 type of time frame, 7 to 10. I know, for example, on Friday, Saturday, the plays go to 9 o'clock, and I know that they're going to be putting entertainment from 9 to noon right now in the courtyard because the Chamber of Commerce is programming some stuff out. We're going to want to look at some of the other places, maybe on the other end of the park. More money comes in, more
Right.
stuff we're going to do with it.
I think you meant 9 to midnight, right? Not 9 to noon?
9 to midnight,
Okay.
yes.
I'm just kind of thinking of a time frame for the Wednesday through Sunday.
Yeah. So, and
All
I just
right.
If we did Wednesday through Saturday, 3 to 10, Sunday noon to 6.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any questions? I just want to make you aware of the different things and time frames and stuff like that, so. Okay, thank you.
So you're saying Wednesday through Saturday,
3 to 10,
3 to 10?
Sunday noon to 6.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know if I like the idea of 32-ounce plastic containers.
No.
Because I think that opens up.
My thoughts are just go,
Booze is a lot more.
start with 16, see how it works out.
Are we going to allow the 32-ounce aluminum?
I think you gotta be standard.
I think we've got to be across the board.
I mean, if you do draft beer at Murphy's, you can put it in
We're
a
putting in
16 ounce
the
cup.
same thing.
Seal
More
it.
water can do the same thing, right?
I don't know, I would think so.
I mean, you can still pour 16 ounces into a cup and cap it.
I would assume you can. I don't know quality of product, how it will stabilize walking across the street and everything else, because it's not a product that we're working with or familiar with. I just do know that 32-ounce product is out there. It's utilized a lot. It may add confusion. Bought this, walk across, can't have that, it's gotta be 16. It's just, so my ask would be, since it's a pilot program in general, just asking, can we make it 32 ounces? It's a craft product. It's not a $2 item that people, may be carrying duffel bags full of them.
I think
so.
to satisfy that, you'd probably want to say that pre-sealed containers would probably fit that bill, but anything, the mixed drink or leaving the bar out of a draft would be the 16 ounce. And I don't know how, again, I don't know how you would enforce that, but I'm just trying to think of the different scenarios, but I would certainly want to see someone walking out with a 32 ounces of a 7 and 7.
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
No.
Is what I'm thinking, is that the intent of it would be to, like to get a draft beer somewhere and say, I'd like to get it in a war water plastic see-through cup and please put a lid on it because I'm going across the street to listen to music.
Sure.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, our industries are evolving a little bit too, as our culture does. People buy a bottle of wine to share.
Yeah.
People buy a 32-ounce beer to share. They could conceivably do that with a mixed beverage as well.
They can also enter a wine house and get a 8-ounce pour of wine into a plastic glass too.
Sure. I think let's try to keep it as simple as we can right now, because we'll see how that works out, if it's easy to enforce.
Yeah.
Modify it.
Jim, what do you got?
Jim Melder, Menina's Wine House, 201 North River Road. Just piggybacking or emphasizing, Wednesday night, we would surely be all in favor of. But one other question I wanted to ask is, would it confuse everybody to say that Wednesday and Thursday were till 10, and you had like a Friday and Saturday that were later, or is that too many times? One reason I say that is if the music in the park doesn't, goes from 9 until midnight, You know, I don't know if you cut
You
off
go
at
to a baseball
11.
game, though, they shut off alcohol sales in the 7th inning,
Right.
you know?
So that was just concerns
Yeah.
I wanted to put out there to see if you guys thought
I think
that
as
was
a
good
pilot, I
idea.
think it's
I
better to
think
play
10
safer
o'clock.
than not.
Okay,
Is that music gonna be in the courtyard? Is that moving across the street to the
Yeah,
courtyard?
they're trying to do it right there in the courtyard.
Jeff, is it going to the courtyard or is it gonna stay?
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the chamber is going to be programming that out. We are raising funds for them to be able to do that. And so they're kind of working with Brian right now on that.
I think he's done. All right, what do you guys think of this? What do you think of this? We still have a motion on the floor, don't we?
I think he still had a question back there.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to you, I swear. What if we did something like 3 to 10 Wednesday, Saturday, 12 to 6 Sunday, 16-ounce cups, Palmer and Rotary Park, and keep in mind that we'll just look this at as pragmatically as possible. If we on a weekly basis say, we get feedback, say, this isn't working, or this is working great, but tweak it. We just have to keep in mind open like that and just say, if we have to come back and fix it, we gotta fix it.
I like that.
What you got?
The cups have to be labeled.
Labeled,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
labeled. Bill?
And Phil Clemens, Alberta said, you answered one of my questions. The maximum glass is going to be 16 ounce.
Right now, it sounds like.
That's what I'm throwing out there, I guess.
I guess, what is it, how is it rolled up right now?
16.
16 ounce.
16 ounce.
16, there's been no amendment to add Wednesday yet,
All right, so 16
or
ounce.
change the times.
Right.
16 ounce glass, correct? Is there a limit on how many I can walk out with?
That's a good question.
I
I
go
think
get
one per
6, 8,
person.
10
Yeah, one per
go?
person is good.
One
I mean,
per patron.
Yeah, the intentions of this is not for people to get wasted downtown.
I know, but it
Just a
still
stroll with a drink.
falls under the takeout rule, correct?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The takeout law. So my question is, how many can I take, how many can people take with them?
One per person.
I think I can answer it. No, I think you could buy 1,000 of them,
Okay.
but if you're in the park, you may only have one of them. It's limited to one per person.
But I can walk out of the river, say, any established room with 10 beers,
Yeah, you can take them home.
or give them to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Chris Paul, Warm Water again. Bill just mentioned something that,
That's a good point.
if we're gonna do 16-ounce liquor, I guess my ask goes back to 32-ounce beer. I mean, a mixed drink that's 8 ounces or 10 ounces or 12 ounces, got 1.5 ounces. You know, and that's what you gotta, most states will make you forcibly, in there, and they make you pour them or open, depending on where you are. 32-ounce, 16-ounce mixed drink, and it's 32-ounce beer. The 32-ounce beer still has less alcohol in it.
Or else we reduce the alcohol.
What's that now?
Reduce the alcohol cup. 12 ounce, 10 ounce, I don't know. I don't know if we
I think
want
we're
to
really
go
technical
bigger.
there.
We want to go bigger?
I don't know. I think if we go big on the aluminum, we gotta go big on the plastic.
I think you're confusing the issue too much.
That is confusing
No.
issue.
Should stay standard. It's a trial. We can
Yeah,
always
try it for
change.
30 days, see what happens.
Do you wanna say?
Well, that's my ask. If it's
Yeah,
a
no,
trial
no.
for 32 days, like, why can we not try 32-ounce beers? It's already in the system. We're already made the investment. We've already operating. So that's my big ask. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are we open to the idea that we could go 16-ounce mixed drink and 32-ounce,
Well, I mean,
32-ounce beer?
officer and us gonna go around sniffing cups?
I think the size should be the same size,
Same.
16 or 32.
I'm trying to think where you
One of
got
those two.
32-ounce cup. That's big, those are big cups.
That's why I asked if we did for the aluminum, it would be aluminum only, 32-ounce, plastic only, 32 ounce. And there's not an establishment in town that can a 32-ounce Captain Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Except for
So are you
Chris,
saying
which he doesn't sell Captain Coke.
Go do the 32 on aluminum and leave the plastic at 16?
Leave the plastic leave the plastic up to a maximum of 16 ounces, and then to do the aluminum
Up to
to
32.
the 32 ounce. I mean, we're not going to be canning mixed drinks at my establishment. He's not going to do his. I mean,
What do you think of that, Mayor?
Mark from Anchor Point again. So for us, I mean, we're also talking about, I think somebody touched on it, the potential to share it. So
that was
there
going to be
is
my
the-
next point with Mr. Kleeman, because Mr. Downey, is there a way that in this ordinance we can only allow one sale per customer?
I don't see it, no.
No?
This concerns only the consumption in the park.
Okay.
That's what we can control. The point of sale, we have nothing to do with at all.
And by the state, it's a gallon, and we're not trying to, by any means, sell a gallon. But we are thinking that people will come in and get, even if they're 4 16-ounce cups to go, because they have 4 people in their group, not all 4 people are coming in, and COVID doesn't really support that to begin with. So for us to sell a package of margaritas sealed up by state law, and they take that across the park to their party, again, their personal responsibility falls in that they're going to give it to the right person. We're only selling it legally to the person that's of age when they come into the bistro. So that being said, that if we're going to limit, I can do larger containers for shareable. And I guess the uniformity kind of gets me a little bit. I mean, it really should be that way. The alcohol content is up to the individual on what they want to drink. But I do understand the point, and it's trial. But in the
Well,
same case,
I think in that case, if it's shareable, then they could just order 4 16-ounce margaritas.
they absolutely could.
Right.
Price
You know,
point
so,
for me
I mean,
is a
we
little
don't
bit
need to- we
more
don't
than
need to
putting it
go
in a
for it,
bigger
no.
container,
Right.
but it is the same thing.
Correct.
So if they're going to walk across with 4 of them, why can't they have it in a bigger container?
Because I don't think my opinion, I don't think the purpose is for them to drink a gallon of margarita. If they want to go through
That
all the
person
work, they should
probably
come
won't
to
be.
your,
That's my
they should come
point.
to
It
your
could be
establishment,
shareable.
order 4 16-ounce margaritas.
Okay.
Again, no, I think that I'm going back to our original meeting, that we wanted to open this so people could walk from one establishment to the other with the drink. And of course, this was done before she's made this executive order. So now we're just trying to fine tune it and figure out how we can serve everybody and be fair to everybody. So I don't think it was the intent of this was for someone to walk in and buy 3 growlers and a bunch of 16-ounce plastic cups and walk over to Palmer Park and sit and share it with their friends. I mean, I think that the intent was, you know, want to do an intermission and walk across the street and get a drink and walk back over and have a drink. That's where I think this was going. So I think if we keep it at 16 on plastic and 32 on the aluminum, let's try it. Let's see where this goes.
Is aluminum part of the state qualified cup?
If it's sealed.
Is it
I think the seal.
And there's no material, in the definition of qualified container, there's nothing that speaks to the material of the cup.
And then I think, you know, listen to feedback, and I mean,
I think that's fair. I think to try it that way, if that's the way the board wants to go, that's
we
fine.
meet twice a month, and I think there isn't one of us that hasn't one of your establishments during the week or weekend anyway. And I mean, now that you know the faces, you can say what working, what isn't working, and we can bring it back to council.
Sure.
And see. But I think the intent is to help. We're trying to do that with no cost to the taxpayer, yet every benefit to the business owner and the community. So I think the intent stays where we originally had seen this thing going, and that she's given us more leeway. So I think that if we try that.
And I think the other thing we need to point out is everyone's coming up here with concerns of abuse. You know, if this thing gets abused, we just shut it down.
Yeah,
So,
you know,
and I appreciate that the thought process of doing it and trying it that way. Now that I know that ultimately somebody can come in and take, you know, a tray of drinks out there, then I'm perfectly fine with it, because I'll just do it that way. And, you know, the responsibility still falls on the person, and we don't want to set anybody up for failure, but that is one of them.
Yeah,
That,
we're
you know,
limited to 1 in the park per person. It's no different than me, you know, stopping somewhere, getting a 12-pack and going home with it. I mean, and that's what you think, the hope that someone would do, walk
Right.
into the store and
Yep.
want 12 margaritas sealed up, they're going home. But
Yeah.
if they choose to violate the law, then we hope that they get caught.
And there was one other thing that was brought up that we talked about actually before the meeting, was the one way to track it instead of the colored cups could possibly be that it's the responsibility of the actual patron that buys the drink to have a receipt in hand if somebody was to check them. And that would be a dated receipt that they could say, hey, okay, you did just buy that, that is good, and that is yours. Kind of
That's a
thing.
good idea.
Something could be added. But, okay, thank you.
One next question, when would this start?
It is written effective immediately.
all right, so here's my thoughts. Weigh in. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts on this, and no matter what we try, I think there's going to be some tweaking here and there. How's this sound? Wednesday through Saturday, 3 to 10, Sunday, 12 to 6. Plastic cups, 16 ounces. Aluminum, 32 ounces. Palmer Park, Rotary Park. Jury's out. We get feedback from everybody on this, maybe not just the owners, citizens, whatever, our own. we can come back, we have to, we can tweak it. Does that sound like something we can do?
Your Honor, I would just indicate that Mr. Rothy's draft indicates both paper and plastic, and I think if you're going to designate 16 ounces as the container for plastic, I think I would leave paper as an option as well.
Paper or plastic?
And you added Rotary Park to that?
Palmer and Rotary Park.
What
In the
about
hours.
the courtyard?
That's not us.
That's not-
Technically speaking, Tom would have to amend his original motion, or you'd have to vote his motion down and then make a new motion with all these
Well, it was
changes.
Butch's motion, I just seconded
Oh,
it.
That was the other
Whoever
way
made
around.
it.
You made it, and I
I'll
seconded
make the motion, following the guidelines that the mayor had presented, Wednesday through Saturdays till 10 o'clock, and then Sunday noon till 6. Allowing paper, plastic, 12 ounce, sealed
16.
was what's the name of the establishment clearly on the cup.
16 ounce though.
Or 16 ounce, I mean, and then the 32 ounce sealed aluminum container.
And that's Wednesday through Saturday, 3 to 10.
Wednesday through Saturday, yeah. till 10
And Sundays
o'clock.
noon till 6, Palmer and Rotary Park.
Yeah. Palmer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mayor, before you do that, I have a quick question for
Yes, sir.
Attorney Downey. Using the receipts, can we do anything with the police to say that, I mean, what'd you say, 90 days and $500 for misdemeanor? That's pretty expensive, and we're allowing that to happen now. Can we just have the police say, if they don't produce a receipt, that they empty the container? Can we do that?
I think we could make it a part of the resolution that
So they
it's
just empty-
permissible as long as they have a receipt.
They have to show a receipt, so after a while, people will realize I have to have a receipt, or otherwise they're going to dump it. And that will keep, hopefully, some of the abuse down.
Well, we're just trying to remember the intent of this thing. I mean, I go back to that, and I mean, the
I don't,
record reflecting
personally, I
the
don't think we
intent.
have the police manpower to go through and realistically check.
No, but if
the
you-
police receipts, I don't think so. So I personally don't think that should be part of the
I think that's
resolution.
unrealistic.
Is
That's a
that
good
their job?
idea, but
No.
Well, it's just another enforcement tool, because no matter how you look at it, the policemen out on the beat out there, when they walk up to somebody who's calm, cool, and collected and not causing you trouble, they're probably just gonna leave them alone. But if somebody's causing trouble, they might just say, "Where's your receipt?"
And they have the option.
if we
There's an
have,
option.
if we have that in the
That's
resolution, that gives them the power
They can do that.
to ask that question, correct?
Correct. Anyway.
Well, then that probably is a good idea to put that in the resolution.
I think the 32 ounces is too big.
What, for aluminum?
Yeah.
What'd you say? You think
You want people to move around.
You can't vote on it anyway.
All right. We're gonna take one more question here from Mr. Paul, and then we're
That's
gonna
true.
send this around.
I don't think.
Yeah, the receipt concept is a good idea. There may be another mechanism that may be better. My concern is, I know I hate when I have to get parking validated and I get to the booth and I'm like, I don't have it, didn't get it done. We're in a paperless society. We print less than 5% of our transactions. It's
But you have the
all
ability to
online.
print.
Some things get emailed, some things don't, some are preloaded on credit cards, and that movement's coming, but we've got different variances of ages and people doing different things. It
Well, an
may-
emailed receipt would be just as good as a paper receipt.
if they did it, you know, it's just, it could become cumbersome. I love the concept, I like it, it would be something that we would want to look at.
I don't think
but,
it should be done tonight.
You know, something to consider as we move forward.
You mean to add it later on, Warren?
Yeah, I don't think we should do receipts right now. I don't think that should be part of any resolution tonight.
No, I think we have to trust the public that they're gonna follow the requirements established.
Mayor, I know you said one more, but if I could. So can we just not on the label, can we just not put the date on it?
That's a good idea, too.
Could do that.
So it's going to be on the label that way?
Mhm.
And then the state requires also that it says alcohol contained. We'll have that on ours, but that might be something you put in there too. It has to say alcohol contained, not just the logo of the. Okay.
Right, was that in your motion?
That was.
All right. Are we okay with this so far?
Yes.
All right.
Call a vote.
Did the clerk get all that?
Okay, so,
There was an original motion to adopt a resolution to suspend enforcement of current applicable city code in Palmer Park and Rotary Park, Thursday to Sunday from 3 to 10. Then McCartney moved to amend the original motion, but it hasn't been seconded yet.
I'll second it.
I did second that,
Yeah.
but,
You second, you
which I
did?
did.
The amendment to the
Yes, I
original?
did.
I'll amend my second.
And that is to change the time from Wednesday to Saturday, 3 p.m. to 10, and Sunday, 12 to 6, up to 16 ounce in paper or plastic, or 32 ounce in aluminum, with the name of the establishment and the date on the cup.
Palmer and Rotary Park.
Yes.
All right, that sounds like it's accurate. I'm gonna ask you to call a roll on this, please.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
Yes.
Ellery?
No.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kufa?
Yes.
Laporte,
I have to abstain.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
All right. Good work, everybody. Let's see how this goes. Keep your eyes open. Let us know what you see. All right. Now we'll go to number 6, and Port Administration, Mr. Roque, what do you got?
I will be brief in my report. Sign up for the census if you haven't. It affects our funding, so please let everybody know to take the census seriously. People do not want to come in and pay their water bill, they can sign up for auto pay and have it taken out of their account automatically. Tomorrow I'm having a pre-construction meeting with 3rd Street and Cass Reconstruction, so that project is moving forward, as is St. Clair Highway. And that's all I have for this evening.
A question for the superintendent, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I actually have 2 questions. The first question is, have we had a schedule out to start crack sealing and road maintenance yet?
No, not at this moment.
Pardon me?
Not at the moment.
Are we working on one?
The thought with crack sealing is most of the roads that needed crack sealing were crack sealed last year. The remaining candidates for crack sealing are being put on our list for mill and filling next year. And DPW Director Beef, again, this can be changed. Our current thought is if we're going to mill and fill it next year, don't crack fill it, this year.
I'd just like to make sure that we're following a good maintenance plan and program on the streets that we have already sealed or, filled, milled and filled, or re-asphalted, that at least someone's looking at those, so we're not back at those 9 years from now because we have, frost heave and things like that. Sure. And the second question I have is, this is another point that's brought up to me a few times. When we send out water bills, why are we not sending a return envelope?
That's an excellent question you asked me a long time ago, and I'll continue to follow up on that one.
Okay.
Mr. Rolte, did you have an opportunity to take a look at the sidewalk in front of the inn that I brought up a meeting or 2 ago?
I did, yes.
And what was the resolution on that?
I spoke with the owners, and I will speak with them again, and we'll get something worked out there.
Very good.
Anything else from Mr. Bodie? Anything, Mr. Downey, you have anything
I
tonight?
have nothing to add this evening, Your Honor.
All right. Any city departments?
Yes, Your Honor. Just a reminder again of the primary election on August 4th, and to reiterate again that Michigan voters approved Proposal 3 in 2018, which allows for no reason absentee voting. That means registered voters no longer have to provide a reason to request a ballot by mail. Those ballots are available right now. At this time, polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day in our normal polling locations. So the choice is yours to either vote by mail or vote in person on Election Day. Just an interesting fact with the proposal and the statewide mailing of applications for ballots. In comparing the August 2016 election, we issued 339 absent voter ballots for the entire election, and already we have issued 896 for just the August state primary.
Wow.
So we are included in those municipalities who have had a huge increase in our absent voter ballots. It's not a problem here. We have a deputy clerk now who assists me, so we're able to handle the increase. Almost 3 times as many. I see November being twice as big.
Do those ballots get sent right to you?
Yes.
And then you count them?
Yes. Yeah, delivered directly to the local clerk. Yes, for review, verification, processing. Yes.
Can we use Dropbox?
Yes. Yep. The drop box is checked daily for other mail, but a couple times a day for election ballots.
the ballot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what, the state of Michigan had sent out absentee ballots to every voter in the state?
No.
Well, I received one and never received one before from the state.
No, the state sent applications to every registered voter, not ballots.
Okay, so the application. So are you sending out applications or are you sending out ballots on request?
My statement was regarding ballots. Like, we've issued that many ballots. We received that many applications, and we issued that many ballots.
So someone has to
already.
actually apply for one?
Yes.
Okay.
A ballot is never automatically sent to anybody. You have to request it in writing to your local clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Also, tomorrow we have a Cemetery Board of Trustees meeting, and part of that meeting will be discussing moving forward with the expansion that was approved in the master plan, I think, 2016. More information will be presented to council after that discussion. And just one question on the recently adopted resolution. So I believe there is a sign in the park already with the the ordinance that it pertains to, so will there be anything we need to do to add to that sign?
I think there should be some
To
signage.
acknowledge the resolution, that this is a temporary change, so what kind of signage should we or would we put in the parks? If any?
Just take that sign.
Or is it word of
I
mouth
wouldn't
from
take those signs down, but
businesses?
maybe just get rid of the one line in there where it's
Or, yeah, I think it might be an appropriate discussion to have with Chief Raker and see
Mhm.
what his sense is on that.
Okay, thank you.
Just leave it to administration.
Thank you.
So on that, to speak more on the cemetery board, just so everyone's aware, the board of trustees has been spending a lot of time, and there's been questions about repair, headstone repairs, some of the older sections. So I just want to make sure that the public was aware of that. In our report that we had, I'm fortunate enough to sit on that board of trustees, we've done over 13 repair and recondition, remounting on headstones, started in the older section and those that were in some of the newer sections that were in no repair. And we've been doing this, and today we've had over 13 of these stones been reset and redone and fixed. So the public that has been asking about that, that's being done. We're trying to do about 8 or 9 a year. So that's a lot of good work that's been done up there. So.
nice.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's go to D, authorities and boards. Anybody have anything? Committees, chairs, council reps?
Other than what I just said, no.
No, thanks. Okay, 7 is unfinished business. We have to go to 8, new business. A, approved proposal for water treatment plant improvement engineering study.
I'll start us off. Last week I sent you the two requests for proposals that we received for the water treatment plant improvement study. I wrote up a memo detailing the differences between the proposals, making my recommendation. Again, this is merely step one in a multi-year process of improving our water plants. This is the first step where we have the engineering team come in and really analyze every single thing that's done in the plant. What is it going to take to make that plant get another 42 years of life out of it? And then based on the outcomes of this study and the cost estimates that accompany it, we'll then move forward with the improvements as part of another larger process, with bids and things like that. So this isn't picking the engineer for who's going to design the work. This is the preliminary work before we get to that stage where we're going to figure out, okay, the treatment plant staff and Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Department basically came up with 21 things that need to be done with our plants. Things we need to do and things we should do. And the two engineering firms, I think we asked 6 of them. We reached out to 4 firms. 2 were interested and 2 submitted proposals. Administration's recommendation is to go with Fishbeck for the cost of $48,850. And we believe they met the requirements of the RFP. And that actually met all of them, unlike the other bidder who failed to include some of the most important items in their price. So that's administration's official recommendation. I can answer any questions. We have our interim water operator, Barry Rubel, here to answer questions as well.
What information did they miss for the 25,000?
So some of the things that were omitted was, the biggest thing is a coagulant study, which is one of the things that we're required to look at by Eagle, and I don't quite understand the science of coagulant, but that's one of the biggest ones. Another thing it was essentially silent on was all the necessary electrical work that needed to be done, including developing an arc flash compliance program. And those are the 2 biggest ones, and there's, I think, at least one more that, Barry, you might be able to help us out with.
Good evening. They didn't really leave it out, but they had an additional rider for looking at the microfiltration, and that itself was like $7,000 or $7,500, I believe it was.
Yeah.
For an additional, that would be included if you wanted to go that route with the Fishback. And speaking to them, they were going to look at that as well.
Yeah.
And part of that.
Is that the proposed membrane treatment for?
Membrane treatment. So again, that's included in Fishbeck's other one. Fishbeck also included some other things that Hubble, Roth, and Clark, the low bidder, actually excluded.
So it's your opinion that the lower bidder with extras would exceed the 48?
Yes, well, the low bidder didn't give us a guarantee. Here is the price, inclusive of all labor. And I spoke with a few of their references, and they have a history of going into a project and saying, I need this many hours to do it, and then they'll come back a little bit later saying, I need more hours, and the bills add up. I thought that it was, with the overall presentation, including all the required elements of the RFP, the experience and diversity of the team that Fishbeck was bringing to the table, and lastly, just presentation itself. I mean, HRC's proposal labeled our water supply as coming from Lake St. Clair, which is clearly not true. And again, first impressions matter. When if you're trying to do, if this is new engineering firm, if we're bringing you on, we don't want somebody who, makes
And they were
a mistake
missing
like
key
that.
components.
And I'm missing key components. That's the biggest thing right there. It's not complete. It's half the price because, and it omits several of the most important things we asked for.
Have you dealt with Fishbeck before?
I have at Marysville on a small project, and it was a coagulant study.
Which is the thing that they
Yeah, we did a
including.
coagulant study with them. Yeah.
And I was able to speak with a few other city managers I know who've worked with Fishbeck, and Fishbeck all came with very high reviews.
Well, I'd make a motion to accept the
I'll
proposal
support
from
it.
Fishbeck.
All right, the motion is made, supported, to accept Fishbeck as the professional engineering services for the city of St. Clair's water treatment plant. Questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Slat,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfather.
Yes.
Koopa.
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yes.
Cedar.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you, Barry.
Could we, Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we continue the topic of water so we can have, while Barry's still here, he's been with us patiently, so can we talk about the new business B first before new business A?
You want to go to C, the watering and switch
Yes,
C and
C,
B?
I mean, yeah, I want to go to C.
Do we need a motion to do that, Jim, or?
No.
Just, all right. Barry, you want to come up here and talk about
Yeah.
watering?
Good evening again. On Friday, well, actually, different topics we've talked about in the past, recently, about production and capacity limits at the water plant right now. I received a call from the operational staff on Friday. And they were running the plant sort of at their typical high end that they have in the past. There's a comfort level there with how the plant performs. And they weren't actually keeping up with the water demand at the time. We talked about a few different things, checking their coagulant levels, making sure that they have all their feed rates right, and then going ahead and ramping the plant up to full rate of the 3 MGD, which I don't know how often that's really been done. But in speaking with one of their more seasoned operators, Tom, he said, it would be really nice if there was a way that we could limit the water usage by sprinkling, even in odd days, based on, addresses. And that's when I called up the city superintendent to discuss that, and he did find an ordinance that was in place to allow that to happen. And it's, right now is the right time. I mean, this isn't just to be cautious, it is, going to be a necessary thing to do. Yes, they ran it at full rate that day, kind of got caught back up and they were allowed to slow down, but not to make anything panic or whatever, but when you're running at these rates, you do have the problem if you had a water break or unfortunately had a fire in town, you would be behind the 8 ball trying to keep up with production. You'd have a lack of water. So I can't, right now, I mean, this is, to me, is top priority. This needs to happen.
How often is this problem happening?
I don't, speaking to them, they really haven't seen this kind of a drought. I mean, and the problem is we're talking, I don't even know if there's rain in the forecast. It said possibly tonight a little bit. I mean, today we're supposed to get a little bit, but I don't think it really happened here anyways. Next 10 days look like they're dry and hot, and I don't, I didn't hear anything about, last year. I've only been on since December, but kind of unusual from recently.
My concern is are we going to put in effect an ordinance that we're not going to enforce?
I think I can speak to that part. So essentially what we're asking council to do is say, through Labor Day, let's require that if you're going to water your lawn and you have an even number address, you water your lawn on the even number days. If you have an odd number address, you water your lawn on the odd number days. Now again, is it super easy to enforce all of this? No. But is it the right thing to do? Yes, because let's just say every day 100 people water their lawn. If we get the word out and say, this is how we'd like you to do it, and if we can get just 30% of those people to change their behavior, it absolutely will help our plant.
So is this enforceable by law?
It is enforceable, yes.
So now we just made that okay by saying, well, let's hope that 30% of people follow it.
Well, we had that.
We have an ordinance on the book, and
We
it just
did
has
it
to be
before.
activated.
All right.
And I think that's the request from administration.
I mean, if
So-
my kids want to play in a sprinkler, I'm not going to tell them they can't do it because it's the 13th.
Well, then you'll get fined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How simple as that?
No biggie.
All right, I'll make the motion to allow the water plant to enforce that ordinance.
Well,
Support.
I think the motion is,
To determine there's a water emergency.
Two
Correct.
different, yeah.
and,
No different than a snow emergency.
yeah, and I would ask for through Labor Day.
Okay. So amended.
All right, the motion's made and has been supported.
support.
It's been supported. We're gonna do even odd watering based on address, even odd dates and days through Labor Day.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Questions? Yes, sir.
So, Tony, stop for a second. Did you address this with the township?
No, but it's a discussion I'm gonna have to have with them.
Pardon me?
It's a discussion I will have to have with the township. I think it would be helpful to get them on board
I would
too.
think so too. I mean, they buy our water from us and they can water their grass every day and.
No, it's a great idea.
and
It's a
we're
great idea that you
every
had. It's
other
an
day.
excellent
We
suggestion.
got tankers hooking on the hydrants and, taking 20, 30 gallons a day out of our system. Maybe I look at something like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, that's all.
Anybody else? All right, call the roll, please.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Koopa?
No.
McCourt?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
No.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carrie Johnner.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you. Barry?
Yeah, just looking at the ordinance, I don't know if this addresses that directly. It does mention, in I don't have the full section, it's just a screenshot that Mr. Rothy sent to me. Talks about the person to whom such water was billed at the time of the usage. So to me, if it's billed to the county or the township as a customer, I would assume it would apply to them as well. But, it's something to definitely look into, but I think there's probably provision in there to allow that.
Mr. Downey?
So Barry, one other question, while you're up there. So speaking of that, I'm sure that probably is true. What about the ones we sell tankers to? Can we restrict, or can we ask them that they can only pull every other day?
We can
or-
tell them, no, we cannot serve you with your water.
I mean, if
Right.
if it gets to that point.
Right. I would say.
I understand the stress.
I would say eventually, if it becomes an emergency, if we ever got to that point, I don't see that happening right now, being that dire, but I would assume the city would probably be able to do whatever it takes to protect public health. Because, talking about water supply and running out or violating state code on water treatment, then you have a public health problem. So I think to protect that in the ultimate end, I think you could probably, I don't want to speak out of turn, but do whatever it takes to protect that.
All right, thank you.
So our code enforcement is going to be pretty busy for them.
All right, now we'll go to let's talk about street sweepers. Mr. Rothy.
So I merely wanted to have a discussion today. This is not a purchase request, first and foremost. So I'm not asking you to purchase anything today. I just wanted to point out that currently the city is renting a street sweeper from Bell Equipment. Last year, before I started, we rented it for 1 month, and that was it. So we only swept the streets once in 2019. This year we have rented it for 2 months now, and the rental price is significant. The monthly rental price is $9,000 per month. It's $3,000 per week, and if you buy 3 weeks, you get the 4th week free, so that's why we get it for 1 month. I don't think it's economical to continue renting it, spending $9,000 a month to rent a machine, when it is unreal, there's a reasonable purchase amount for a used machine. And we have 29 miles of streets in the city of St. Clair. Most of our streets do have curbs. Right now, we're looking at 3 weeks to do the streets, to sweep everything. Even if we can get that down, 2 weeks, a week and a half. With the weather, sometimes you can't plan these things. We're still looking at it, if we're down to 2 weeks, we're still looking at $6,000 for 2 weeks. And so if we want to sweep our streets, let's say we want to do 3 times a year, and we have 2 weeks, well, there's, $18,000 right there in 1 year on the street sweeping machine. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting we purchase a new street sweeper. That would be I don't think that's in the city's best interest, best use of city funds. But the current street sweeper we are renting is a 2016 model. The regular price for this used machine is $150,000. Bell Equipment's willing to apply the monies we've already spent this year, the $18,000, towards this new machine, which would bring that purchase price down to $132,000. So again, we could purchase a used sweeper for $132,000. Again, then we're not having the annual rental costs, and those rental costs are being paid out of the street funds. So that would actually free up, well, this year alone, that would free up 18 grand that could be deployed to street projects or sidewalk projects around the city. So again, I wanted some direction on, I know street sweeping, and I've only been here so long. We were renting it. We used to have one, I think, many years ago of our own. So I just was wondering, what is council like? Want to have, how many street sweepings do you want to have a year? Like, do you want us to try and do 2, 3? Because if so, it's going to cost us. This is what the cost is. It's $3,000 a week to rent the sweeper.
Street sweeping used to be a very important part of our street maintenance program years ago. I mean, that was busy all the time. I mean, when we had our own street sweeper, it was busy all the time. I know that firsthand. So it goes a long way to protecting our streets, the back behind the curbs when your catch basins aren't getting filled up with the tree droppings, and they drop twice a year besides all the other clutter. So, I mean, at what point in time are you going to come back to us and ask us to buy it? Because I mean, I see a need for it.
Sure, yeah. And again, I think the consensus was if we can kind of reach that, we're leaning in the direction to go, I can go back to Bell Equipment and say, okay, their council's interested, give me your final and best offer on this machine. Maybe we can get the price down a little bit more. And I could come back at the meeting on the 20th with an official purchase request for it.
I guess my question is, I know years ago we used to have our own machine and DPW used to do it, and then we went to contracting it out, and it was a contractor doing the work. And I see recently, I don't know how long it's been, that now we're running a machine and having one of our guys run it. What was it costing us to have it contracted out and not using one of our DPW guys?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
I mean, I think I'd like to see
Sure.
what that cost was.
If that's a cost I can get.
I mean, I just sort of thought the DPW was sort of short of manpower, and if we got a extra man that we can give up to doing that. Also, with the street cleaning, is that on a schedule or something? I mean, a lot of times you see him going down the road and he's got parked cars he's got to go around, which is, I think, ineffective.
Yeah, I think, I think, again, last year, they rented the sweeper for 1 month. So they had it for 4 weeks, that was it. So they only went out once. This year we had it in May and we had it in June. So we've had it 2 months.
Okay.
I think it would be the easiest way to implement a citywide street sweeping program where we could communicate with the residents. These days, you got to have your car off the street. We're going to come through, make the curb nice and clean. I think the easiest way to do that is if we have our own machine, if we go to the contracting thing, or if we continue to renting, we can do it. But again, it's more of like, I don't think we could get to the point of, we're definitely going to be on your street on this day. It's got to be weather permitting. We got to be able to have the rental that time. We got to be at that point in the street. We can't have other things come up that pull, like a water main break that pulls DPW off of it. So again, I think purchasing it, or at least having council, okay, because we don't budget, I looked at it and I'm like, we 18 grand. I'm like, I can't spend any more money on a street sweeper with what I've been budgeted for. So if we want to do more of this, I'm going to have to increase the budget in the future to allow for more sweeping so we can establish a regular routine.
Right. I mean, I just know at one point in time, I mean, we actually had our own garbage truck too, and those DPW did that, but I think it ended up being not cost effective, and I was wondering if that was why we contracted out also to street cleaning.
Well, the big boys got involved in the tipping fees and the landfills, and it got pretty hard for municipalities to compete with those rates. So, I mean, you're right. We used to have all kinds. We used to cut our own lawns. We used to take care of the cemetery. We used to have our road grader. We took care of our gravel roads.
I just want to look at the numbers and make sure that.
But I remember when we were contracting, the contractor came at nighttime.
Oh yeah,
and did it at nighttime. And the problem that I remember as a kid watching the street sweeper is you always had to go around park cars. I mean,
Right.
no matter, some places in town.
But there was no
You know,
schedule either that I
No,
ever
they
saw.
were just out and they try to do it on a quarterly
Right, right.
basis. I mean, but as far as extending the life of a road, from backwash, you can't do a better job than a street sweeper.
Well, and then that also helps maintenance with the storm sewer too. I think that was one of the biggest reasons why you do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're not looking for any decision tonight?
No,
You're
I'm
gonna give us
just,
some information out here?
I'm gonna come, I'll probably come with a formal, a final and best in act, a nonverbal quote, if you will, from Bell Equipment. I'll look at the member Kinsfather's,
Yeah, I just have
the historical cost of contracting. I'll figure out who we used to contract with, if they're still in business. Again, I know Marysville, they rent from Bell Equipment just like we're currently doing. I can reach out to a few of our DPWs, and I don't think there's a common contractor who comes and doesn't labor included in this area. There might be, it's still worth looking into. I just wanted to get the feel of, if I came here and you all said this is a terrible idea, we don't want to buy one. I didn't want to go too far into it without getting some feedback on that. So I think the conversation's enough for my next direction.
All right, good. Okay, so we will go to number 9, claims and accounts, June 18th and 25th and July 2nd, 2020.
Hearing no questions, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Support.
All right, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10 is public comment. Any non-agenda items on your mind?
Is City Hall open to the public?
Yes.
All right, I wasn't sure. And last week, we come out of closed session, we voted to administrator to enact something. Can you light me on what was that about?
So far, the action that I maybe was going to have to take has not been required, so I'll defer to Attorney Downey if I need to go further.
I guess I'm not sure where we stand on that.
Essentially, we met to discuss legal opinion on some potential action, and at the moment, there has been no need to take any of that action that we discussed.
Is it a good idea to discuss it publicly or no?
I would say no.
I would say
No.
no right now.
I believe that's what Mr. Kleeman's asking. Can we publicly talk about what we discussed at the last closed session?
I guess I don't understand where we stand on the substance of it. I think if it's still an issue, I don't think we can.
Yeah,
It is still an issue.
absolutely still an issue.
I don't think we can discuss it.
Yeah, I didn't think we could, but
So can you tell me when you can, or you want me
Oh,
to keep
yeah.
asking every week?
keep asking. We'll tell you when we can, though.
I'll definitely ask every week, but I thought you could tell me, but I'll ask in 2 weeks.
All right. Anybody else? All right, let's go to another number 11, Mayor and Council. I do have a couple quick things. Number one, on a sad note, Joe Stockhausen, if you knew Joe back in the 90s, Joe served on council. Actually, I was on with him, and he passed away. He was down in Florida, actually, 87 ye's old. So thank you to Joe Stockhausen. And then, for those of you who do not know, Fred Robbins, our DPW worker, this is his last week. He's retiring. He will be sorely missed.
Yes, he's a
That
good
man
man.
is 2 men of work. Yeah. Anybody else have anything?
Gonna hire 2 men to replace him?
I'm kidding, no.
Hearing nothing else, Your Honor, make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Have a good night, everyone. Be careful.